Good afternoon and welcome to an introduction to the University of Bedfordshire. I'm a journalist and a lecturer, and my presentation is a narrative of a development that we undertook to improve learning. University of Bedfordshire in England is a university that is based around the ethos of transformational education. Most of our students, as you can see, come from non-traditional backgrounds. Many are the first in their families to get into university, and a high percentage are mature students. We do also have a significant proportion of international students too. So we faced a challenge which many academics face regularly, and that was how to develop a unit that was weighty, content heavy in subject matter, with very complex content that students could learn very quickly and with deep learning. It's not perhaps the most sexy of subjects. Journalism, law and public administration tackles the legal, administrative and political structures of the UK and the European Union that journalists must have at their fingertips. Those are the laws of defamation, libel, copyright, election and freedom of information, plus the differences between administrative systems in different countries. And it really is just part of that really complex legislative, social and political landscape in which journalists today work. It's dry to many people, and it's certainly not sexy or appealing to most students. But the content, although it's vast and subject to fast change as the laws, politicians and governments change, is something that must be taught. Not just facts and theories and concepts. Students need to understand and correctly apply that knowledge in their work. Industry training courses and many other institutions deliver practice-based approaches to assess this area by exams. But for us, many of our students feel really disadvantaged by exams because that's based on past experience, even though they recognise exams are the valid way of assessing journalism, legal and public administration knowledge. Why are exams relevant? Why can't we use something else? Well, in part, the exam mimics the situations that journalists often find themselves in. They don't have time to turn to reference books, as I know only too well, but they have to give instant knowledge, which they've got at their fingertips as they file copy, particularly on live TV and live radio, within seconds of the story finishing, or indeed while the story is still continuing. So filing to deadline after the course end of a court case, for example, or broadcasting live. They've got to have that information. They can't break away to go and look for it. And exams, particularly multiple choice exams, enable really large areas of knowledge to be tested in a rapid fire way, similar to the real environment. 1 minute a journalist needs libel laws, and in the next breath they need to be aware of the funding of the health service, for example, or how a sports governing body works. So we faced a challenge, and the challenge is one which academics in many subjects face regularly: how to effectively communicate really significant areas of knowledge to students. More importantly, assess their understanding in a way that's accessible to them and lets them do their very best, enabling them to perform to the very best of their ability. Law and public administration content was introduced in the academic year 2006-07. Prior to that, the university was dealing with journalism studies rather than practice-based journalism. So when it was introduced, it came in one semester of teaching with assessment by an essay and a practice-based piece of journalistic writing, which I introduced as a court report. First year's data indicated big problem with retention and achievement, suggesting changes were needed to the way the curriculum was not only delivered, but the way it was assessed. The assessment approach of this essay with a court report was much too narrow to evaluate student knowledge over such a broad subject area, and it was a negative experience, not just for students and staff alike. The breadth of the information that we needed to cover and the fast pace of delivery made the unit particularly challenging to teach and demanding and unappealing for students. The external examiner for that first year's delivery also raised great concerns about the unit's efficacy and requested an exam. But we came back to the situation where exams for a significant proportion of our students pose huge problems for engagement and achievement. Because the University of Bedfordshire has an open access policy, our undergraduates have got really varied prior experience of learning and of assessment of learning. Some are mature entrants who are coming in from the industry. They are already working as journalists. They come back to reskill. And some of these journalists have got good knowledge of the world of work, but they're less accustomed to formal assessment. And research, anecdotal research amongst them, showed there was a real fear of not scoring higher than younger students, or indeed as well as younger students, in exams. And that reduced the mature students' approach to the exams and their efficacy in them. The younger students coming into university straight from school, on the other hand, had very frequent and up-to-date experience of assessments in exam format, but the anecdotal research into their views and their needs revealed that they suffered from a significant exam weariness, which I believe is felt by students in a lot of tertiary education. Even higher achievers showed reservations. One student told me, "I've done well so far, but I couldn't face dealing with any more exams."